There's Bobby Neal telling his man, come on, win this last round, chanting for Vito, Vito, the crowd on their feet. It's been a hard, real tough slog between these two. So round 15, the final round of the WBA, WBC middleweight championship of the world. Let's see if Minter can win this last round, as he has nearly every contest he's ever had since the age of 14. It's turned out to be comparatively bloodless, really. And it's got to be the old-fashioned toe-to-toe, slug-it-out stuff. As I said, the judges' slips are given after every round. And it's the question of the adjudicators totting him up as they go along now, and I hope they don't keep us waiting too anxiously at the end of this. Jim Watt has pointed out only too well the hazards of scoring British style and how it will be recognised in America. But if I were judging totally impartially, I would certainly have Minter in front. But as Jim has warned you, you never know how these judges are going to view this one. But I must say, I will be surprised now if they go against Minter. A little bit of blood showing over Minter's left eye now, but obviously too late in the fight to bother him. Seconds to go. And when that bell goes, it may sound like an orchestra to Alan Minter. And there it is. Minter throws his hands in the air, but so does Vito Antuofermo, which is bad news when that happens. They're carrying Vito Antuofermo around the ring, which is getting boos right away from the British contingent. And there you are. If they're trying to influence the judges, that's the way to do it. But now they're also carrying Minter on his shoulder, on the manager's shoulders, and there really is going to be trouble whichever way this verdict goes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a split decision.
That's a bad sign. Split decision.
Las Vegas scores 144 Minter, 141 Antuofermo.
He's one up, Minter.
Judge Roland Duncan of England scores 149 Minter.
He's won it. Alan Minter is the new middleweight champion of the world, and it's a big score there, 149, 147 by Dakin. And now let's see if we can get in there and share that excitement.
We're going on into the 8th. And now the cuts are so bad that he's come out of the corner with blood still oozing from the eyes. It really is a barbaric contest. There's no other word for it. Minter is being permitted to cut the man to bits. None of it Minter's fault. He's doing his job. He's hardly landed any good punches on Minter. Extraordinary enough, we're in the 8th round. And I suppose you could count on the fingers of one hand the number of reasonably good punches that Antuofermo has landed. He's brawled a lot, he's wrestled a lot, he's barged in. Punches have gone around the back of Minter's waist, around his shoulders, around his neck. Very few of them have been on the target area. This extraordinarily courageous man from Brooklyn via Italy, Antuofermo, keeps on coming in, trying to do something. But unless he gets very, very lucky, it looks like a hopeless quest. His eyebrow over the left eye looks like just one long cut to me. Once again, he trudges back to the corner, and once again, Howie Albert goes to work, pouring water over those damaged eyes. They're calling the referee over this time, and this might be the end. They are calling it off. They can't continue, and that's not before time. So at the end of the 8th round, Alan Minter, leaping for joy, retains the World Middleweight Championship, the undisputed championship of the world, the only undisputed world boxing champion there is. Alan Minter from Crawley in Sussex, at 28, retains the title in a fight that has been extraordinary in many ways, for the complete domination by Minter and for the extraordinary lengths to which Antuofermo was permitted to go, trying to win his title back. And everywhere that Minter goes now, from side to side of the ring, he's greeted with a great burst of cheering. Vito, how many stitches have you had in those eyes?
15.
Just how bad were the cuts at the end? How badly did they affect your fighting?
Well, they started affecting me after the 4th round, that I couldn't see out of the eyes. The blood was coming down, I couldn't see it. So I tried, and the 7th round, the referee wanted to stop it. No, my corner wanted to stop it. I said, no, let me go one more round, let me see, let me try. So when I went the other round, then I couldn't see out of the other eye. So then I couldn't see them punch coming, so I said, all right, that's it.
So you were fighting blind, were you, for the last couple of rounds?
No, the last round I fought blind completely.
Have you ever had bad cuts like that before, as bad as that?
15? No, I never had them before.
Now, does that make Minter a much better fighter than the first time you met him?
Yes, this time he was much better.
Did that surprise you?
Well, in a way it did, yeah.
Why was he a better fighter this time, do you think?
Well, maybe that's because I got cut, I think, in the 4th round. And, when you can't see it. Because most of the time, even last time, the first four round, I looked just as bad as I looked this 4th round. Then when I couldn't see out of the eye, then the whole game, my whole plan went down.
You went over to Alan at the end of the fight and said something to him. What did you say?
I said, you are a good champion. You deserve to be champion. Because before, I complained that he wasn't the real champion. Because I didn't think he beat me the first time. So this time I went over and I says, you are the real champion. Congratulations.
Do you intend to go on in the fight game now?
Well, I don't know yet. I'm gonna have to talk to my manager first. I can't answer that question.
Vito's home now is Brooklyn, New York, out of Bari, Italy.
And the strategy in this fight very similar to the last fight. Antuofermo, like Mancini, will want to get inside where he can chop away, and Aldana will want to be on his bicycle and hit him at long range and hopefully open up some of those old cuts.
And as you heard in the pre-fight interview, Vito Antuofermo hoping that corrective surgery will alleviate the cutting he has experienced in his career. Aldana fights his way out of the clinch.
Right hand by Aldana. Vito Antuofermo went down to one knee. Berg splits them up, and Berg will give Antuofermo an 8 count because his right knee touched the canvas.
And rightfully so. Vito went down from a punch, not a slip.
Well, he doesn't give him the full 8. But he stopped the fight at any rate for the moment, just to clean his gloves. But it goes in the books as a knockdown.
Big overhand right by Aldana, and I think that did knock Antuofermo down. Shake him up a little bit, though. He's back now, the aggressor as always.
A right hand to the left side of Antuofermo. Vito was right there.
And that may have been from some ring rustiness. He hasn't been in the ring since June of last year. That's a long time, Dwayne, for a fighter to be out of action.
Too long. I don't care, what kind of work you get in the gym. You need the action of the fight, the intensity of a fight to really stay sharp.
Now you see the familiar inside work of Vito Antuofermo, although
there is blood on his shoulder. There's a cut or a nosebleed someplace. And I would say it's Antuofermo.
Antuofermo with his back to us, so we can't see. Antuofermo is cut on the forehead. Yes, he is. And that could be the work of the butt.
Definitely. They were in there banging heads a little bit. As you can see, they're still doing it.
Stanley Berg trying to split them apart, and Aldana hitting on the break. Vito didn't like that. That's the second time here in the first round that Aldana's done that, hitting on the break.
And this fight is reminiscent of another fight we had in here in Chicago. Look at that mauling on the ropes, and they both go
down to the canvas. Lots of wrestling here between Antuofermo and Aldana. Stanley Berg, the referee, figured on having a busy night because Antuofermo likes to fight inside. Down goes Antuofermo again, and he was hit while he was down to boot. He will take a standing 8 count. Antuofermo now blaming that knockdown on a butt. He has already had a cut on his forehead here in the first round, presumably by a cut. We don't know yet for sure.
And this is an inauspicious return to the rings for Vito Antuofermo in this first round.
That's for sure. Aldana having everything his way here in the opening round. Just seconds remaining. And he just tagged Vito with another overhand right, and Vito gives him a shot after the bell. So this first round to the 10th round, a brawling, mauling fight between these two middleweights. Antuofermo in the black, the former middleweight champion of the world. Stanley Berg has them touch gloves, and we're underway. In the first round, Antuofermo took 2 8 counts. They were not tough knockdowns, but he no doubt went down. Aldana hasn't been effective since then until this very moment. He just hit Antuofermo with a right hand. Aldana knows he needs a knockout to win. And on the break, Antuofermo is hitting and getting away with it.
Well, Aldana was holding and hitting again as the referee was trying to break him up.
Aldana's just winding up with these shots, and he was lucky to land a right at the beginning of the round that kind of stunned Vito, but now Vito, I think, is back in the pattern, and I think he's going to pressure Aldana for the rest of this round. And Aldana's on his bicycle.
All three of us have Antuofermo way ahead. Of course, our card's unofficial. Vito just caught Aldana with a flying left hook. We've got blood all over our desk here at ringside, and it's mostly from the face of Vito Antuofermo. He has 4 different cuts on his head.
Can I go sit in the audience cell?
The And Stanley Berg is bathed in blood as well, as we can see.
Antuofermo bleeding from a cut on two cuts on his right forehead, one in his hair. Aldana connected with an overhand right. Antuofermo with a clean right cross as a counter halfway through the last round. Although Vito has been cut, they have not been a factor. He's been able to fight, and he has not been blinded by his cuts.
It's extraordinary the way he can fight, blinded by cuts. He did it against Marvin Hagler, and he's done it against many other fighters. And now he's doing it against Aldana in a fight that is a crossroads fight for him. He desperately needed to win tonight.
Antuofermo in crimson takes a right hand. Another right hand, but delivers a right of his own. Minutes ago in this fight. Aldana has not distinguished himself here tonight in this fight. Right hand by Antuofermo. Aldana keeps throwing those looping overhand rights, hoping for a knockout punch. Antuofermo countering very well. Crowd now chanting Vito's name as we come down the stretch.
There are many Italian-Americans in this audience tonight. This was billed as Italian night, and so far Vito is giving them all they could possibly want.
Antuofermo just gave Aldana a right-left combination coming out of the clinch.
And Vito's face is just masked with blood. How many times have we seen that in the later rounds of this fight?
Final seconds of the fight, and Antuofermo still chasing Aldana and connecting as they collide on the rope. Stanley Berg, for the 1,000th time, separates them, and there's the bell. A brawl over 10 rounds. And look at the towel that Freddie Brown is using, and you will see the evidence of those cuts. It is filled with blood. So is our score sheet, as a matter of fact.
And our shirts, I might add.
Got some of my jacket.
And there's Vito, who really got perhaps more than he bargained for here tonight, even though he wasn't really hurt too much by the punches of Aldana, the butts, and some of those overhand rights, like the ones that knocked him down in the first round, probably did shake him up a little bit. I don't think this was the kind of outing he anticipated tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, the official scoring by the judges and referee. Referee Stanley Berg scores 48-40 Antuofermo. Judge Collins Brown, 46-43, Vito Antuofermo. And Judge Gerald Holtz scores 48-42, winner, unanimous decision, Vito Antuofermo.
The rivalry between Marvin Hagler and Vito Antuofermo dates back to 1978, when both men were top contenders for Hugo Coro's crown. And when the title shot arrived in June of 1979, it was Vito Antuofermo who stepped forward and battered Hugo Coro to win the middleweight crown. Marvin Hagler fought on the undercard of that main event, and at a press conference the day before, Hagler claimed it was he who deserved the shot at Coro's title. The press found that Hagler's vengeance was much better copy than Vito's capturing the crown.
I was upset about the way how they was doing things and how this guy go around me and right in for a title shot. Like I said, they both like a bunch of amateurs, and I remember the mark that I made, and I said I can whoop them both in the same night.
Since I was the champion, and he started like taking away the publicity that I wanted, I said, you got to be the first guy I want to fight.
So 5 months later, Vito Antuofermo gave Marvin Hagler his long-awaited shot. Hagler's pre-fight barbs caused Antuofermo to say, I never hated a guy so much.
I remember, that I said, hey, nowhere in the world this guy's going to whoop me. You have to hype the fight up, and me with my little gimmicks about the mosquito and everything like this. I felt as though that if I wasn't talking, if I didn't have the little gimmicks or anything like that, Marvin Hagler wouldn't be here today.
When he finally got his shot against Vito, he said, now is my chance. This guy who refused to fight me before, now this Vito the Mosquito is going to get swatted like a fly.
Vito didn't listen. Instead, they fought one of the most brutal and controversial championship fights in middleweight history. When the decision was announced as a draw and Vito Antuofermo retained the title, Hagler was despondent. To this day, both camps insist that they were victorious.
Most of the people that I've talked to, they know I won the fight. And they know the only guy to beat Hagler is me.
Right now, I just want to prove to the world that I won that fight.
But that's the fight that made Vito. And that's the fight that made Hagler look bad for his mouth.
He just took his belts back, you know what I mean? That's the way they want to play it. But I felt as though there should have been an automatic rematch between Antuofermo and I.
But Jose Sullivan of the WBC insisted that Vito defend against #1 ranked Alan Minter. So the rematch between Hagler and Antuofermo was shelved. This time it was Vito who was on the short end of a controversial decision. Marvin Hagler was forced to sit and wait.
Minter and Antuofermo fought the first time, and there was a split decision. A controversial split decision, but nevertheless a split decision, not a draw. They turned around and they had an immediate rematch, and they forced Marvin to fight 3 other opponents and beat all 3, ranked in the top 10, before he could have his promised second shot at the title. So every time Marvin got the fast shuffle, he got a little bit more determined and a little bit more angry at this Antuofermo person.
Vito was given the rematch with Minter. This time the bout took place in the new champion's home, London, England. And it was the task of Marvin to try to understand why Vito Antuofermo was given a second chance to gain the middleweight title.
They know they can't whoop you, so they got to push you out of the picture. And it just put me on a warpath. I couldn't see how all of a sudden they went around me and right into Antuofermo. You know, it shouldn't have been that way. I just started destroying my opponents, you know. I want everything hard for me because when it's hard, it makes me work hard. I don't like things that come easy to me.
Finally, on September 27, 1980, it was Marvin's turn to try and take Minter's title. Vito Antuofermo was an interested observer.
So, of course, I was rooting for Hagler, and I seen Hagler in a hotel, and I told him what to expect.
I don't listen to this. Right now, I had Minter on my mind. I didn't even want to look at Antuofermo's face.
Marvin Hagler mauled Alan Minter, and the middleweight title was his. Still, Vito Antuofermo was not a believer.
Anybody that he fought or he's going to fight, he's going to destroy because he's got that style. As long as he fights this kind of guy, he's going to look good until he fights me.
When he beat Alan Minter in the 3rd round, the first thing he wanted to do was to get back into the ring against Vito the Mosquito, because that was the only blemish on Marvin Hagler's record.
Which brings us to tonight, the culmination of 3 years of a bitter rivalry. Marvin Hagler and Vito Antuofermo.
No, he's got that chip on his shoulder.
It's just something that I have to prove to the people and to myself.
And he intends to make sure that the American public remembers Vito Antuofermo as being a loser to Marvin Hagler.
When writes, I don't know, I think he's a kook. At this point right now, I'm much better in shape than I ever was for the first Hagler fight.
It's just that it just had to happen, and I knew it had to happen, you know, and just with time.
That's right. I noticed that Hagler's sporting a beard also, isn't he? Here's the tail of the tape right here. Comparable numbers, as you see. Leading with his right or left. Point out, Larry Merchant, always the fashion played here. Not to indicate that this is a bloody fight, but Larry, folks, is wearing a bib. A lobster bib. Round 3 in the meantime. See what a job Freddie Brown has done. Good left hand that time by Hagler. Antuofermo also has a cut underneath the left eye. Hagler's jab is very effective tonight. And another good right hand right to the eye. And again, another jab. Always on the damaged area. Always on the damaged area. It may not be a pretty scene, but it is the job. It seems that Hagler... And there is a left hand that puts Antuofermo down. A left hand to the forehead by Marvin Hagler put him right on his backside. Didn't seem to hurt him, seemed to stun him more than it did hurt him. He
didn't seem to know where he was for a moment.
That is only the third time in the career of Vito Antuofermo that he has been knocked down. Twice in his last fight. Again, blood showing from the scalp of Vito Antuofermo. Showing more in this round, actually, than it did in the last round. Hagler just kind of measuring his man.
Hagler seems quite calm, not excited at all, and is using a great left jab. His jab is just great. That right jab is just scoring at all times at that vulnerable cut.
Hagler, who often will switch to a right-hand style, unlikely to do so in this case because all the damage is to the left side of Vito Antuofermo's face. So you would have to think he would likely stay with that right jab. And coming in underneath the defense that time and staggering Antuofermo once again is Marvin Hagler. Again, Antuofermo coming at his man, trying to smother him. There is blood on Hagler now, too, but it is from Antuofermo. And Hagler again peppering his man 2, 3, 4 times to the face of Vito Antuofermo.
It just seems to be too much head contact, if you'll notice, when on the inside.
And now blood flowing freely again from the forehead of Vito Antuofermo. And most of that really is still being done with the head, not with the fists. Hitting on the break, apologizing to Marvin, to Vito Antuofermo. To say that Vito Antuofermo is game would be to make a great understatement.
Yeah, he is a mauling, brawling type of fighter who never gives up. He's just very brave in that.
I think we mentioned earlier he has been cut in every fight that he's had, with one exception, and that was a fight that he lost in a 15-round decision.
Going back to Antuofermo's corner, I don't think let's take a look at the knockdown here. After using his jab, Hagler had Antuofermo very jab conscious, and he came across with the left hand. There's a jab right over the eye. It's a good straight jab, a right jab. That one was a little bit lower under the eye. And obviously Antuofermo has to be very conscious, and there was a left hand, a short, straight left hand, as Antuofermo was looking again for that right jab. Here it is from another angle, I believe. There's the right hand over the eye, the right under the eye. And now watch that left hand, a straight left hand. And I think, having seen it now, it looked like he caught Antuofermo coming in and a little bit off balance. It wasn't a devastating blow, and obviously for the rest of the round, there weren't any serious effects on Antuofermo.
As we said, it seemed to just stun him more than it did hurt him.
I don't think I've ever seen a fighter like Antuofermo who went further with his will and so little skill.
I don't think there's any question about it. The first round butt, of course, having a profound effect on the fight, although right at this juncture of the fight, you would have to say that it's Marvin Hagler's fight regardless. The blood really has not so much gotten in the eyes of Vito Antuofermo.
And Marvin Hagler, if you notice, is boxing a lot now. He's from the outside coming in, and as we said before, jabbing and coming across with that effective left.
Looks as though there could be a little bit of a cut on the brow now, the left eye of Vito Antuofermo, too, although that may just be blood from the top of the head.
This fight is beginning to resemble a fight I saw many years ago, the second Sugar Ray Robinson-Basilio fight, in which Basilio's left eye looked like a gargoyle. It was closed early on.
Well, you saw that right hand by Marvin Hagler, and Antuofermo now is cut under the right eye.
Antuofermo is being beaten to the punch at all times. He just won't stay on the outside. He must get on the inside.
And the blood really showing actually from under the right eye of Antuofermo even more than the cut from the butt. It is well under the right eye, alongside the bridge of the nose, actually.
Antuofermo also has a swelling now around the right eye. It's kind of black and blue down below this hip.
And bleeding from below that.
Yeah.
What had happened before the operation with Antuofermo was that he actually bled internally first, and then, of course, the blood had no place to go, so it cut much easier. That was the reason he had that operation in the first place, was to smooth out.
I think he's opened it now.
The supraorbital ridge above his eyes.
Yes.
How's that for a non-doctor?
You know your anatomy quite good, don't you, Barry?
Don't you believe it? I read books. My mother still wants me to be a doctor.
Not too late.
Got to have something to fall back on when you're in this business. Once again, Marvin Hagler forcing the action here and really having it all his own way. And now Antuofermo comes back a little bit. Antuofermo fighting on guts, there's no question. And the most blood now, ironically, on Antuofermo shows from the right side of his face, which was not the side of his face that was damaged early on.
Antuofermo takes so many punches just to get 1 to 2 in.
Once again,
it looks like another headbutt. Oh, now Antuofermo seemed to deliberately butt him.
And now Hagler gets the warning, and more blood shows from now the right brow of Vito Antuofermo. It is not pretty. End of round 4.
Looking at Antuofermo, very definitely the ridges over his eyes that used to spring leaks all the time have receded. But as I said earlier, he's now springing leaks from every place else.
Yeah.
Although he does have a cut, I can see right now, he's got a 3 or 4 inch gash over his right eye, and that's the cut that can end the fight. Right there, you can see them trying to treat that cut over his right eye. That's the one that can end the fight.
Again, there is a discussion raging. Freddie Brown has been arguing with Davy Pearl. And again, Freddie Brown says the fight is over, and Davy Pearl says the fight should go on.
Freddie Brown, I heard him say disqualify him, meaning Hagler. Disqualify Hagler.
They ought to leave it up to the fighter at this point.
And now you heard Davy Pearl said he quits. Marvin Hagler's hand is raised. Vito Antuofermo does not like it.
Well, the first round, I might have believed that it was intentional butt. Because I got butt on top of the head, so it might have been an intentional butt. The referee warned both of us, watch for the head. But meanwhile, I got a card it in. But the second time, he butted me with his head, and right in the eye. You can see it right there.
He got a point taken away.
I got a point taken away from intentional point.
There was no doubt about the second butt in which he lowered his head and did hit you, but in the first butt, our replay showed definitely that in your leading to him, that you did hit him. Let's take a look at it right here. Describe what you see.
Okay, I'm going,
right there.
Well, you see what he said? You see what he said? He butted his head down?
Put his head right into him. Look at him.
Well, go back. Go back with it. You see?
Play it again. Aren't they supposed to do stuff?
Well, there were two forces meeting there. We'll try to roll that tape again and try to see it again. It certainly was an accidental butt, but let's take a look at it once again. See who's moving forward.
Okay, I'm a little more. Yeah, but he moved his head down.
It's supposed to be drawn.
He moved his head down.
What was Freddie Brown? Was he trying to stop the fight or just give you time for your wound to heal?
He was telling the referee that it should be disqualified. But I didn't care. The first time I didn't care. I wanted to go on because I know I could do it. You know? But then the second time he did it again. That time I know he was on purpose. That was only the first time. I didn't even notice until now. But the second time was definitely butt. Intentional butt.
Vito, thank you very, very much. You're a brave fellow.
Thank you.
Just too much. You gave just too much blood for your cause. Here's the second butt.
Yeah.
There it is.
Hey, see what it said there? I mean, you know, look at.
At that point, the referee.
Go back with it. I like to go back with it.
It seemed that when you both went down, at that time he was going forward.
But meanwhile, he butted me with the top of the head. Watch this.
Watch.
I'm going in with the right.
Look at him.
Okay.
What is that?
What is that? Okay.
Down and up with it. Hey, what, you got to be blind?
It just looks like you just sprung too many leaks again, Vito. Good try.
Well, I guess so, but I think they should call it a draw.
Will you fight again?
Definitely. If they give me a rematch, definitely I will fight him again.
Thank you very much, Vito. Back to Barry and Arthur at ringside.
Vito Antuofermo, you mentioned the big paydays. He did fight for about $200,000 at various points in his career, but that is not the kind of money middleweights are making now. But a lot of questions about Antuofermo. 3 years, a long layoff. And when he was finishing up that period of his career, when he did retire, he wasn't looking that good then either. So we'll see.
Antuofermo again. Vinny Renoni, the referee, by the way, ducked into both corners, said there is a point deduction from both of you. The round is even. So the fourth round was an even round by these two fighters.
There's more coagulant on both of these fighters right now than I've ever seen. They both have cuts in a couple different places. Vito hurt Beranek in the last round. He hit him with a couple of good right hands, but Beranek not taking a backward step, and he's standing in there.
Beranek at 29. Antuofermo at 30 or 31, depending on which book you want to read. Oh, that blood really coming down from that right eye now. Beranek chasing him into the corner. Blood is just streaming badly from the right eye. Beranek really teeing off on him now. Antuofermo says, come on in. Beranek really going after that right eye, and that's the same cut that we saw in the Hagler fight. Renoni looking at that cut, which is really streaming blood now.
You know, Al Braverman is in Vito's corner, and Braverman was the trainer of Mustafa Hamsho when he last fought Marvin Hagler and had just so many cuts. And this is starting to get reminiscent of that because both fighters are cut badly.
Both fighters just completely covered with blood. Maybe most of it coming from the right eye of Antuofermo, even though Beranek is bleeding himself from the eye.
All right, step out.
Halfway through this, only the fifth round.
Gee, what a stark contrast between this fight and the last one. Andre Cooper and Mike Tinley boxing effectively, no cuts, one knockdown, a very clean, well-fought fight. And boy, this is just the opposite.
Al, that eye, there is absolutely no way Antuofermo can make any kind of comeback if he's going to continue to bleed that way. It ended his career once, and now here it is again.
Well, the cut's the big thing for him. Beranek is hurt. He is cut. There goes Vito. Turned into a wrestling match now, and they are both bleeding so badly, especially Antuofermo. Beranek not bleeding so bad, as a matter of fact. Antuofermo, a lot of blood coming from that cut over the right eye.
Under a minute to go in round 5, set for 10.
You wonder.
Big left hand by Beranek.
You wonder why Beranek just doesn't box this round and just wait and see if they would stop it. I think if I was him, that's what I'd do. Might not be the noble or courageous thing to do, but it might be the smartest.
Under a half a minute in round 5. There's that big left hand by Beranek on that same cut right eye again.
No punch, step back.
We're going to stay between the rounds and see how these corners react to what is going on. Certainly for Antuofermo trying to close that right eye cut again. Beranek is cut over the left eye, but it is not as severe. Big left hand again. Big left-right combination by Antuofermo, and there's the bell to end round 5. Antuofermo going back to his corner. Look at him, he's a bloody mess as he gets back to the corner.
Will you get out of my way?
Doctors looking in there at the cuts.
You gotta get off. You have him. Use your overhand right when you control him in the back. Okay? You gotta sleep a little more.
Stand still. Stand still.
So Antuofermo being looked at with that cut really being worked on hard on that right eye.
You got him out. Do you understand me? You understand me? You got him out. He's all right, Doc. I did. There's not. It's a little nick here, Doc. There's nothing.
In the last round, there was some real boxing, or what passes for it in this fight. Antuofermo with a good couple of good combinations against Beranek, pushing his punches a little bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, because of cuts sustained by both fighters, referee Vinny Renoni, on the advice of the attending physicians at ringside, Dr. Stanley P. Rogers and Dr. Ronald Woods, we are stopping this fight. The scores will now be added up to decide who wins the bout. We have a split decision. Judge Richard F. Murray scores the bout 3 rounds to 1, 1 round even for Beranek. Judge Lawrence Wallace has the bout 2 rounds to 2, 1 round even for Antuofermo. Judge Phil Newman scores the bout 4 rounds to 1 for the winner on a split decision, the former middleweight champion of the world, Vito Antuofermo.
So Vito Antuofermo again wins a split decision. A clash of heads with the cuts. Back to the scorecards. He wins a split decision. We'll be back to talk to Antuofermo after this.
Hilton in his fight against Francisco de Jesus last January, where he used strategy and discipline and fought what Dave Hilton Sr. says was his best fight by far. And that win over de Jesus, who was a ranked boxer, moved Matthew into 6th place on the World Boxing Council's standings. A victory here for Matthew Hilton, and he would move much closer to that shot against the championship, if not right into position to fight for the championship in the junior middleweight division. And in the state of boxing today, he has 3 champions in 3 different federations to choose from. There's Hilton again going back to work. Left, right. And Antuofermo, if he had any thoughts of taking Matthew Hilton lightly, it does not anymore. The junior middleweight champions are, of course, in the WBC, Thomas Hearns. The WBA champion is Mike McCollum of Jamaica. And the IBF champion is Carlos Santos of Puerto Rico. And again, Antuofermo trying to use that strength, and again, simply being out-muscled. And Guy Jutra stepping in to end any of that. Exchange of jabs there. Good combination by Hilton. Antuofermo trying to come back. All arms and elbows and whatever it takes. Try and control and wear down his opponent. And that's one of the tactics he's had, and something that comes with 58 professional fights. Notice the way he moves those shoulders in. But look at Hilton, fight right back out of it. Power his way back out of it. Look at the uppercut. Antuofermo again into a clinch. And again Hilton back on it. We're in the 4th round of this one, scheduled for 10. Big uppercut followed by a combination. And Hilton has Antuofermo against the rope. Antuofermo trying to power his way out of there, and not having much success, finally moves into a clinch, but Guy Jutra has to separate. Now Antuofermo trying to work to the inside against Hilton in the late stages of round number 4 here, and there's the bell. Lots of action in this fight. Good exchange there at mid-ring, but then Hilton finds the mark once again with first the left, then the right. And as Antuofermo tries to duck away, Hilton just sets it up and throws that popping left hand, followed again by a right. Misses with the left. An action-packed bout, but it has been mostly Hilton. There's a big uppercut. And it has been Antuofermo taking all of the punishment here. Antuofermo is apparently in trouble, and there seems to be a time has been called by referee Guy Jutra, and they're going to call the ring doctor in. It appeared to me, just looking at the picture, that his mouth, that fight has been stopped. A bad cut over the mouth of Antuofermo, and it opened up very suddenly in the corner. And once again, the bugbear that has haunted Vito Antuofermo has struck once again. A cut over